and
Thank you.
very exciting.
Welcome back to another episode of TikTok Famous Podcast. Today I have that Lil Nina in the house on the show. We're going to be talking about all things Disney and prison roommates and all the good stuff. So stay with us.
You're listening to the TikTok Famous Podcast, where viral fame meets raw reality. Join your host, Meredith Willits, as she dives deep with your favorite creators to uncover the real stories behind the scroll, the highs, the lows, the algorithm chaos, and everything in between. This is not your average interview. This is the TikTok Famous Podcast.
This is the TikTok Famous Podcast with that little Nina, who's going to be dishing and does dish on all things prison roommates and all that good stuff. I just had an appointment with a client and I go, I got to get out of here. I'm going to talk to that little Nina about her first stint in prison. She's like, what?
I love
it so much. How are you? Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. And I'm so excited to give you everything that you need to know.
You're the best. You have blown up on TikTok in like 5 minutes flat. Like you went like wildfire. My daughter sent you to me and said, Mom, you have to interview her. So here we are.
I know. And I was so excited to get your message because I've never been on a podcast before. So this is
I so appreciate it. So for the people that don't know who you are, you committed a crime. We're going to go there in a second. You committed a crime. You went to prison, like not jail, not slap on the wrist, not the detention home. You went to prison. And now you are dishing about all of it on TikTok.
I am.
People are here for this. Like you are a bed night. Like you're like a bedtime story lady. Like people just sit there and like.
I do. I've been told people binge my page. I get told that on a regular, and I think it's really entertaining to hear, and it makes me really happy.
Yeah. Did you ever imagine that this would be happening?
I know the humble thing to say is no, but I really have been dreaming about this all my life.
Stop.
So I did know I was going to be here one day. I don't feel like I'm here yet, but I'm somewhere.
You're somewhere. You're somewhere. And did you think it would be for this reason?
No. No.
God had other plans, right? Like God's like, all right, I know that this probably doesn't feel like the way you're going to get there, but this is going to be part of the stepping stone, right? Like best laid plans, right? Like best laid plans. Sure. So let's go back to the beginning. Let's settle down because I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to you. I just had Shauna the mom on here last week.
I know.
Yes. And I mean, she's like, what? Like millions of followers. Like I am here for all the interesting people. Like, I don't care if you have 3 million, 6 million, 600,000. If you got a good story, I'm here for it. So how did you get here?
Well, I am the last year of the millennials. So I remember Google being invented, but like, I also know that Ohio is now an adjective. And because of that, I was around when Justin Bieber, Declan Galbraith, everybody got YouTube famous.
Oh.
To be YouTube famous through prison? Absolutely not. And it's not even YouTube famous yet, but TikTok famous, hopefully becoming YouTube famous one day. And I didn't expect it to get there. I didn't expect it to be that way. I was actually discouraged a couple times because of my storytelling methods. People didn't think that I was pleasant enough for the internet. And so I went to prison, and in prison, you have a long time to think about yourself and what you want to do. And I never gave up the dream of being a social media personality. So my time locked up was my time to really set myself up for what I thought I wanted to say to the world. Because I knew I wanted to say something. I just didn't know what it was yet.
I love that. When you were growing up, were you the kid tap dancing? Were you the kid that was told to be quiet? Who were you?
I was the kid that my mom introduced me to all my teachers as, she talks a lot. Please don't call me because of it. Because I wasn't going to stop. Yeah. I just always yapped. And now I can yap again. And now I have more interesting things to yap about. So here we are.
So do you think that it was embraced then? What, like, it sounds like your mom wasn't apologizing for you. She was just like, this is who she is and this is what we've got.
Yeah, pretty much. I can say there was a lot of, teachers and people, when they see a kid who talks too much when they're not supposed to, the initial response is, hey, quiet down. And my mom did try the whole, can you stop talking all the time? And I was like, no. So she just was kind of like, well, she's not going to stop and I can't keep missing work to tell her to stop. So it was begrudgingly accepted.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that too. I love that. So let's go back to that day in Disney that kind of started all this chaos, so to speak.
Yeah, I was 19 and I was living with my, at the time, boyfriend, but really just like a homeless guy I hung out with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And he had introduced me to Disney as a crime place, like a place where people can commit crimes and get away with it because surprisingly, Disney puts a lot of stuff under the rug.
Stop it.
I'm serious. And I didn't believe it because, you know, you hear about Disney in the news and you're like, nothing bad happens there. But then you read about Disney in the places where Disney can't get to. And then you really learn, you know?
So, wait, what? What are you saying to me right now? Wait. Disney is a great place to commit crimes because they don't want anyone to know that bad shit happens at Disney.
That's basically the math of it. Yes.
My brain can't keep up.
So you'd be surprised to know this, but in 2016, the amount of cameras in Disney hotels that didn't work or simply didn't exist was so big that my crime was continually like done to the point where they had to find the culprits or they were gonna lose their money, which is why they pushed so hard in court for me to get in trouble, because the idea that I was able to burglarize so many hotel rooms and they couldn't catch me was like, what's happening? And it was gaining so much traction. So many people were a part of it that it had to be stopped. But
okay. I thought I wanted to start at Disney, but I have to go back. First of all, you're hanging out with the homeless guy.
I sure
So let's backtrack 5 minutes from the homeless guy. So I don't think I've ever hung out with a homeless guy. So you got to take me to where hanging out with the homeless guy is a norm.
Well, normally it's not the norm, but when you're homeless people are all you hang out with.
So you were homeless at the time?
Yes, I had actually just left a 4-year-long abusive relationship.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the whole enchilada. So your self-esteem is in the toilet.
In the toilet. He was my groomer. He met me when I was 14.
Holy shit.
Yeah, when I was 18, I tried to get away from him. And he was like, I'm going to take you away from your whole family. And he took me to Florida. I was born and raised in New Jersey. He took me to Florida.
So he's going to save you.
And no, he didn't want to save me. He wanted to save me. And so he took me away from everybody so that people would stop confronting him about me getting away from his abuse. And so when I got to Florida, I realized you don't have anything to use against me anymore, because what he was using against me was my family. He was like, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to hurt your mom. So me being a child, I was like, don't hurt my mom. I'll do whatever you want.
So you were 14 and this guy's threatening that he's going to hurt your family. But if you go with him, then everything's going to be better.
And I wasn't 14 at that time. He met me when I was 14.
Okay.
He groomed me until I was 18.
Okay.
And so when I was 18 and he could legally take me out of the state without going to jail for kidnapping.
Yeah.
And he did. And then in Florida, I realized he can't hurt my mom because my mom's in New Jersey. And so I can get away and there's nothing he can do. And I did get away and I was homeless. And then I met my co-defendant. And then
you met your co-defendant. So you were homeless. Then you're now hanging around with other homeless people, obviously. And now your co-defendant has a plan for you. And it's gonna fix everything.
Everything.
It's gonna fix everything.
Going to be making more money than we've ever made before. And it was just like this is so easy. You got to try it. And I was like, well, I got nothing else to do. So, and then we got caught. And then you got caught.
And then you got caught. Now you talk about on TikTok how the money that you're earning from telling your stories is to pay restitution.
Yes.
And your co-defendant chose not to do that route. And instead of paying restitution, he went back to prison or stayed in prison.
He actually was on probation and caught another charge. And in the state of Florida, when you're on probation and you keep going back to jail, they offer you a prison plea instead of reinstatement. So they basically say, you're really bad at probation. Do you just want to go in prison? And then you don't have to be on probation anymore. And he said, yeah, actually, I'd love that. And unfortunately, because I'm still in that place where I have to pay the debt off, him denying that debt and denying probation just means that all that money goes to me because I still pay it off.
Okay, so let's just pretend. I mean, you can tell the numbers if you want. So if you owe them $1,000, you personally, Nina, and he owes $1,000. Now you owe $2,000.
Well, it's not based off of that. It's based off of the total amount that was stolen. So it's more like if $2,000 was stolen, yes, I owe 1,000, he owes 1,000 technically. But if he doesn't pay that 1,000, that 1,000 still has to get paid for.
By you?
By me, because I was there when it was stolen, yes.
Stop it.
Yep.
Oh, the court system is so stupid.
So I've talked to so many people and I've said, is there any way we can split this down the middle where it's on paper that I am almost done?
Yeah.
Said no. So here I am.
How do you keep such a happy attitude? Because every time I see you, I mean, it makes me want to cry right now. And I don't cry ever about shit like this, but I don't know, looking at your face and knowing a little bit more about you right this second, it's hitting me dumb. I don't know. Maybe. How do you keep such a happy attitude?
You know, it's funny you say that because I think the only other time I've ever heard that question asked in earnest was when I was facing the plea of my charge. The judge wanted to give me life, 90 years. And everyone knew that I was facing life.
For stealing?
Yes, the judge canonically hated thieves, and Disney, as a corporation, was sending so much money and representation to the court on their part, and me having no money, no representation. It was almost like Goliath fighting even less than David, you know, like an infant, basically. I had no leg to stand on. So.
Holy 90 years?
Yeah, they wanted to give me 90 years. And I was 19, and the judge looked at me in my face and he said, you know, if I give you 90 years, you're going to die in prison. And I was like, yeah, I gathered. And every day that I would go to court and deal with this, the officers would ask me the same. They'd be like, how are you so happy right now? Like in the position you're in, facing the time you're facing. And all I could ever say to them is that in their position, not facing any time, they looked miserable. So which one of us really deserved to look happy versus the one that looks happy? I think this is a quote from, I believe, World War II, where a man can't control anything but one thing, and it is the way he acts in any given situation. And his choice to be a certain way, despite certain things, you know? I would much prefer to be happy in bad times.
I love you. I knew I freaking picked you to interview for a reason. That's some good shit, girl.
Thank you.
That's some good shit.
There's this thing called the smile theory. I did it my first year in county jail. I smiled through everything. And when I say officers would try to make me unhappy so I'd stop smiling.
Yep.
I've never met so much anger as when I looked my happiest.
You know why? Because it reminds people of who they are. It does.
Well, it shows people how unhappy they can be despite all of their goodness when they see you being happy despite all of the badness.
You know when I learned that was in India.
Really?
I went to India with my daughter and we were in a taxi. We were driving down the road. And when I say that there was a mother, and when I mean mother, she's probably 16, 17. And she had two kids. One was maybe 2 years old. And then the other one was like fresh born infant. And our tires just about took the head off of her infant. That's how close she was living to the road. Living. And all you saw was smiles. And it was in that moment that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that money and circumstance and all the things is not what makes people happy. Because if that woman, you and I would freak out, right? Like,
absolutely.
Could sit there with a smile on her face and just holding her babies and just existing on the side of a dirt road. I knew right then everything came from inside.
It does. And true peace isn't even the peace of knowing that you're going to be okay no matter what. True peace is knowing that no matter what, you're going to find a way to be okay. Because it's really never going to be as concrete as it feels. Emotions are so temporary. Even the worst ones are not going to stay.
Who are you? What in the shit is happening right now? You're like a fucking guru. What? I don't even know what to do with myself. What is going on?
I appreciate it.
What is happening? I have
Reach
a
out to
freaking
me.
degree and I life coach people. I just got done with and you're over here schooling me like I'm a second grader. You're such a dick with your new haircut and your fluorescent green eyes. I just love it so much. Okay. So on your show, I'm going to call it a show because that's my new thing. I'm calling this shit shows because you bring a show. Okay, you bring a show. You are telling your viewers, your followers, your fans, let's call them what they are. You are telling them the stories, yes, of the people that you were in prison with. So you live with these people. You live with Sue and Kelly and Jennifer and Eloise and all these people, and they just existed. Did you know what they did when you were inside?
No, not at all. And that was part of the series. The fun of it all was, and I say fun very lightly because it was actually quite disturbing. But I think when you're living there, you know that everyone's done something wrong. And even when you see their time, because I get a lot of comments that are like, well, Nina, these people were on death row. They have life. They weren't in prison for picking flowers. And I know that. But when you've actually lived with these people and you start to realize that it's amazing the things you can go to prison for. It's amazing the situations you can be placed in that you just end up committing a crime, man. And you learn that not all criminals' stories are so black and white. And so you stop asking people what they did and you just start asking people who they are. And then you come home and you start to realize that you don't know what they did for real. And then one day I just was like, well, let me see. Let me see. And I've been shocked back to back to think that the people I was best friends with have done some crazy stuff.
Some crazy stuff. But
next level disturbing.
If I met you though, and we're in prison and we're, roommates or whatever, and I don't really know what you did, but like, let's say you did get 90 years, I'd be like, bitch, totally killed someone, like 100,000%. Like,
and so crazy because that's what most people would think.
And yet instead you stole from Disney, the Mecca.
And I really think that that's part of why my page exists the way it does, because most people would look at me, talk to me for 5 minutes, and they'd be like, how did you even get there? That's the place for the bad people. But I think the point of my page is sheep's in wolves' clothing, wolves in sheep's clothing. It doesn't matter. You don't know. You have to actually get to know the person, to know the person, to know the person.
Yeah.
Live with a bunch of bad people in prison, but how many of them are actually bad people, and how many of them have learned from what they did, and how many of them will never learn no matter what they do?
So I grew up a defense lawyer's kid.
Really?
So my dad is a defense lawyer. I think he was a defense lawyer, 3 decades. Then he became a judge.
Wow.
And then he worked for the prosecutor's office, still prefers defense. Still
That's quite a path.
I know, right?
Wow.
And so when I was in 3rd grade, the kids would ask me, how can your dad defend murderers and rapists and pedophiles? And I was in 3rd grade and I would go home and my parents were divorced and I would say, Mom, they're asking me these questions. I don't know what to say. Like, is dad a bad guy? And my mom said to me, let me tell you this, Meredith, he took an oath and he lives by that oath. And when their parents need a lawyer, believe you me, they're going to call your dad, which from all of my life, they all did, right? Of course.
Yeah.
And I grew up with a very deep understanding of circumstance, life experience, and a past that you have no control over. You had no control over your parents, Nina. I have no control over my past. And it creates a person, it creates circumstances. If you would have been without that guy grooming you at 14 years old, you may have had you wouldn't have probably even been in Florida, right? Not to sit here and go, if only, right?
No, yeah, but it really is. You give yourself that.
You have to give yourself maybe not give yourself that but I give other people that. And I go, I'm not going to judge. I didn't walk in those shoes. Let me tell you what, right? And so everyone does have a past by way of themselves or by way of other people or situations and so on and so forth. And so I've always believed that people aren't just hatched murderers. They aren't hatched that way. You aren't hatched a thief. And I don't know. I would totally steal. My first time I stole something, I stole a pair of 99-cent orange round earrings from Gold Circle with white polka dots on it.
They sound
And
really cute.
huh?
Those sound really cute.
They were so cute. They were like little button earrings. They were teeny tiny with white polka dots. And my friend taught me how to do it. Now, mind you, I lived in the upper scale, but I'm stealing this. And she told me to take the earrings. We are one and the same, my dear. And I took the earrings and she said, wrap it in the dollar and then put it in your pocket such that if you get busted, you could say, oh, I meant to pay for it. Here's the dollar I was even going to pay for it. We were like in third grade. She's a mastermind. Clearly, she's now a teacher, but it is what it is. My point being, you are humanizing background. You're humanizing the people in prison that should be thrown away. You're humanizing people that people say they should get water and bread and nothing else. You're humanizing that people need to come out of prison and not be punished so much that they are 10 times worse than when they went in. If you look at prisons from around the world, people go in and they actually get help and they actually come out better than when they went in because they've gotten therapy. They've, dog therapy, art therapy, physical therapy, mental therapy, whatever education, law school, become whatever. This is like the only country outside of third world countries like El Salvador and all this other bullshit where people come out worse than they went in. And I think that that's the beauty of your page is not just the kind of like, what did they do? But you're a person that did something bad, could have gotten 90 years, and everyone loves you. How's that possible? You're a criminal.
And that's such an interesting thing to think of because it really is that. You're right. I humanize the people who have done horrible things because I saw them post conviction. They've already accepted they did the thing. They're in prison. They're there. They've got their years. They're doing their time. Are there people who go to prison not to learn? Yeah. But there are people who go everywhere not to learn. It's not a matter of where you are. It's a matter of if you have the capability to grow where you are. And so I do try to show people that some people who have done very minor crimes are in prison right now showing they're behind because they don't actually care about the growth. Yeah. Some people who have done the things that you wouldn't even speak about in the dark are in prison right now leading gospel groups and donating and trying to help because they want to be better than the person they were because they recognized the evil they once had and they worked through it. And I hope that through my page, I do help people see that it really is case by case. It really is case by case. Just like you said, you never know what a person went through to lead them up to where they were at that time.
At that moment. And we've seen this. And not just that, it's the multiple charges. So that started, there's a great podcast by Series. I think that Series podcast is like the brand. And then under Series podcast, they've got little other podcasts that you can listen to. And one of them is actually about the Cleveland, Ohio court system. And they talk about how back in the day, you would have been picked up for shoplifting or whatever, right? That's it. You go in, you get in trouble for shoplifting or whatever, and then that's what you get tried for. Now, what they do is they give you a litany of charges. She was trespassing, she didn't have a driver's license and was driving cars. So they give you 100 charges and then you plea out to 6 of them and go to prison for 25 years. And it's like, I was barely in aisle 6. What is going on? And so then you plead to these 6 charges instead of taking the 20, right? Mm-hmm. And this is what we're doing. And this is why everyone's going to very expensive and yet very privatized prisons. And so like this is where we're at today. So someone that maybe just did X, they find 100 things that you could have also done wrong, and that's why people are in the predicament that they're in right now.
Absolutely. I mean, for me personally, they stacked me with 13 charges initially. And they had to drop it down to 7 because they could only prove 4. But they racked it up to 7 charges individually, and then they had me sign off on the 4 cases.
And you think you just won.
And
you're happy as a pig in shit.
Because I'm not getting 13 charges in 90 years. But really, isn't that insane?
Yeah.
The court system even in itself knows it's insane, because every day that I spent in prison, that officers got the urge, or even like court people got the urge to read my case. I had a paid attorney. Everyone that's ever read my case has always said the same thing. There is no reason for you to have this much time. This is actually insane. And it's just the way that Disney worked the court system. Money makes people run. So they had so much money. They offered to pay for all of my victims to come to court to testify against me if they were willing. Imagine Disney offering you a free Florida vacation just to point at somebody in court and say, yeah, she stole my iPad.
Are you banned from Disney?
For life.
For life.
Technically not for life, but they have facial recognition and they have my picture in the system. So if I do ever go on property, they can arrest me for intent to steal just because I'm there. And the last time I was there, I stole.
Right.
So they're like, you're only here for one thing, lady.
You're only here for one thing, lady. Well, I mean, there's worse places to be banned from. I mean, I went once. I never need to go back personally. So there's another thing that we have in common. So let me ask you this. Now that you're out and you're reading about all of your roommates' shit,
Mm-hmm.
are you freaked out by anyone in particular that you're like, holy shit?
I'm not going to lie. My first one was about Amelia Carr. I don't know if you got to ever see that one, but she did something horrendous. And I have gotten so much controversy over that video because I laughed when I read the file, and I came back and I laughed and I said, like, she wouldn't hurt a fly. And just the disbelief in me reading.
Right, like a nervous laugh almost, not like a, this is fun laugh. Right.
No,
right.
not, yeah, like a very, I was unsafe laugh.
Right. Like what? Right.
You know, and obviously not to get into graphic details, but there was a woman involved and essentially she was tortured. And when I asked Amelia in prison what she did tell me she tortured someone, but she just said, like, I tortured someone real bad. And she admitted that it was probably the worst thing she's ever done. And she never wants to be that person again. And Amelia even admitted to me that while she was in death row waiting to like go to trial, she didn't even want to fight the case. She was so upset with what she did when she finally sobered up. And
I was going to say, was she on like meth or something? Like,
yeah, she was on drugs bad. And when she finally sobered up, she realized what she did. And if you were to see Amelia today, she's missing almost all her front teeth. And it's because she stopped taking care of herself in death row because she wanted to die. She did not want to live anymore when she found out what she'd done. And her attorneys and
so she didn't even have recollection of what she did until after the fact?
She literally told me that it was like coming to from the biggest fog, realizing how crazy she'd gotten. And every day she just had to live with what she did, and she had to hear it in court. And so when she got sentenced, she accepted it. She was going to let them take her. And then her family, her friends, people from the outside kept saying, like, please fight. You've got kids at home. Please fight. Attorneys, people in prison, they were like, please fight this. And then she was able to just get life. And now I think she is still trying to get home. But it's only because there are people who want her home.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like very telling. If you committed your crime and it's a horrible crime, somebody lost their life because of you. We're not away from that at all. But the idea that you would look at that and you'd be so miserable with your actions that you don't even think you deserve to be here anymore. I got to think something changed in you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that when you're in a relationship or there's a person out there in the world that has an addiction, especially such a mind altering drug where you are not yourself. I mean, right, the Florida man, right, that's just crawling
Yep.
down the street and eating people's faces off. Like, that person's sort of not in their right mind. Like,
Literally.
that's not Joe from
Yep.
down the street. Joe's now left the building, and it's Joe on drugs, literally. Um, and you have to, like, and then you have people that'll be like, yeah, but she got on the drugs and she took on blah, blah, blah. And like, all those things are true. And still,
Yeah.
and still
And still.
the drugs, in my opinion, the drugs were at the wheel.
Oh, for sure. I know as someone who is sober now and has to recollect the things that I could delightfully ignore while under substance, it's crazy the decisions you make when you're fueled by the adrenaline and the confidence of a substance in your system. I don't
Yeah.
doubt that half of the people in prison are in there right now because of a substance. Because even me being able to commit the crimes I committed, it wasn't because of me. Me right now, I'd probably cry. I just cried today. I'm,
Aw.
I'm not really a not soft person. I'm quite the marshmallow, actually. So
Yeah.
think of the crimes I committed when I was 19. No way. No way.
So
I'd
you
be
were on a substance when that happened?
absolutely. I was on every substance.
Really?
Yeah, I was addicted to meth, crack, cocaine, Molly, and I had tried heroin, but I didn't like it. So it was mostly crack at that time, actually.
I mean, crack is whack. Didn't you
It
learn
sure
anything from Whitney Houston? Crack is
exactly.
whack.
It really every single drug is whack, and I'm so grateful. I think that's the thing is prison did save my life,
Yeah.
but it saved my life because I let it, not
Yeah.
because the system was set up for that.
So did you have, when you were getting ready to get out, were you like, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to go back? Am I going to do drugs? And like, what, like, cause to me, okay. So I'm sober 2 years, no booze.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. 2 years, July. But like the first thing I'd be like, oh my God, I'm totally having a margarita and 17 packs of Marlboro Menthol Light 100s. Like 17 packs. Like, I'm never going to leave the bar and I'm going to mainline nicotine. That would be me.
And
I'm a mess.
and that's valid. And I can't lie. I thought about it a couple times, but you want to know something? I will say this, if I say nothing else about prison, once you're in there, the universe will not let you out until it's done cooking you. I had so many chances to get home early through programs, through like other programs, drug abuse programs, military programs. I tried every avenue, but every avenue that was open to me, if I came to the opening of that avenue with the idea of going home and getting high, it closed immediately. And that's not an
Somehow.
exaggeration. So many different times I had chances to go home early. And right when I'd be at the gate, the second I thought to myself, I'm going to get high, it would close and I'd stay and I'd have to stay in prison. And then finally, when I was done and I was like, oh, I'm just never going to do drugs then. I can't get out until I'm done doing drugs. And I even was on substances in prison. And then I stopped.
Really?
Yeah, there was Suboxone.
Oh, uh-huh.
It's an opiate blocker, but in prison, people use it like an opiate.
Yeah.
And it was the only accessible thing for me. So that's what I was doing. And then finally, I stopped. I was sick of myself. I was sick of myself. Because why
That's
are
what
you?
I was with drinking. And I wasn't like, I mean, it was even just like a beer every day, a glass of wine, tequila, whatever, right? But you get sick of yourself.
Because why are you in prison and still high? Girl, sit down somewhere. Like and you try to justify, you tell yourself there's nothing else to do, so you might as well do this, but it's really not worth it. It's never going to be worth it.
Yeah.
So I stopped. And then when I really stopped, I started seeing things open up that would have never opened up. And then I was able to go home. And even going home was so interesting because I didn't think that was going to happen.
That is just, you are saved for something special. My grandmother would always say that about my son, Cody. He almost died when he was born. And she used to always say, Cody, you're saved for something special. And I got to tell you, so are you. Like you're
Thank you.
saved. Like, remember that every single day. Like, we're not done. I'm not done with you, but I just want to put a pin in you're saved for something special. Because I'll tell you what, the fact that you're able to see all this shit at such a young age, like,
Thank you.
never forget that. Like, never, please remember this, not even from my mouth, but you're saved for something special. So, one of the things I wanted to ask you, because I've always wanted to get involved in prison somehow, like I said, growing up the way I did, what are some things that people don't understand about prison, maybe that makes people worse, or what's lacking, or what people could do from the outside that would make a difference?
I'm actually touching on this in my videos that I'm making now, so I'm happy to be able to elaborate more here. One of the things that I've noticed is people ask me that. They wonder, like, what could make prison better? What makes prison so bad? It's the lack of attention to the staff. And I think that that's so interesting to have to say, because
What does that
you
mean?
look at prison, and you think, the officers that go there, they go there because they want to do a job. They go there because they want to protect, they want to be on the right side of history, whatever it is. You'd think the COs, the parole officers, like the penitentiary officers, the prison itself, it's made to keep inmates in and reform them. And because we believe that, a lot of state-run prisons are run very poorly. They're run on lies and deception, and because no one's paying attention to the staff, it doesn't matter, and it gets unnoticed. And then a lot of women and men that go to prison leave with more trauma, with more problems, less resources, and less patience for the real world, because of the way that they're treated by the staff. And the way that people in the real world can help is just by listening. When inmates call home and we say, like, we're being tortured in here,
Yeah.
you can't call the prison and say, are you guys torturing inmates? Because they're not going to tell you the truth. You have to believe the inmates. When I remember, we didn't have toilet paper for a long time. Not just COVID. I mean, pre-COVID, we didn't have toilet paper. They were giving us 2 rolls per week. And if you ran out, you just ran out, and they had no more for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not actually procedure. Procedure is we're supposed to get 3 rolls per week. And if you use all 3 rolls, and the officers have to give you some, they decided that inmates were abusing the power of toilet paper. So they started cutting off toilet paper.
Yeah.
And I think being an inmate and hearing that from the outside perspective, you're like, what do you mean?
Right.
They're cutting off toilet paper. They wouldn't let us wipe our own asses. For what? Because they wanted to, because they had that power. And people were calling home and saying, we don't have toilet paper. And then people were calling the prison. And as a result, auditors came, but the prison gave us extra toilet paper for the audit.
Yeah.
And took it away.
Yeah.
They took it away as soon as the auditors left. So the reality is, when people in prison tell people in home, we're dying in here, they have to push harder. There has to be more attention on the staff, because the staff is what's ruining it.
Do you think that means like more video cameras? That means more training? That means...
Honestly, I think it means more random audits, because when they know that people are coming, they know to make it look good. I think more people on the outside should be involved in the prison system, because I think the prison system has a monopoly on secrets. They have a system set up to never fail, so that if by chance people on the outside pay too much attention, everybody's in cahoots to make it look good, so that we can keep treating the inmates however we want when the people are gone.
And I think it's only going to get worse with privatized prisons. I mean, when we privatize prisons, it's basically legalized slavery. I mean...
And I've never been to a privately owned prison to even know, but I know that a lot of people prefer the privately owned prisons because in their minds it's better.
Really?
And I don't know how true that statement is, because I know that privately owned prisons do have labor for product kind of transition, like little trade there with the inmates. But Lowell Correctional, which is the prison that I was in Florida, their website for a while there, I don't know if it still does, but for a while there, their website was claiming that all the inmates were getting paid for their jobs. And no, they weren't.
Really?
And they were just lying about that because they could, because nobody was going to check up on that.
Yeah. And if you wrote a letter to, like, I don't know, NBC News, they're looking through all your letters. They're not going to let that go out.
Yeah, they're not. They're not going to let anyone know anything. Like the way that a lot of people were able to even get eyes on Lowell. If you look up that prison, you're going to see a lot of newsworthy, a lot of bad stuff happens at Lowell. But
Is that exclusively female prison?
it is. Lowell Correctional is a female institution. And a lot of the women are going to call. A lot of women have come home and immediately gone to the news and tried to get people to pay attention. And it just, there's not enough alarm. And I think it is because people have it in their minds that, well, those people did something bad.
They deserve it.
Yeah, they deserve it. And that's why I think in my videos on my page, I really like to get across that message of, are you for prison reform or are you just for punishment?
Yeah.
Do you actually care about these people that are in there because they're people, or are you just in it to listen to the gory details of inmates because you think?
And that might be a great question, or I don't even know how you put that in your videos. Like, do you want people to come out better or worse?
Exactly.
Do you want more menaces to society, or do you want more productive citizens? Because you can't have it both ways. You can't abuse people and leave them for dead and in the same breath say, why, what's wrong? You've just been abused for the last 20 years. I just watched a documentary. It's on Netflix about there's prisoners that are making, they make quilts for the orphans kids that are in the system. And it's fascinating. These guys work like 8 hours a day making these quilts. It's fascinating. If you haven't watched it out there, who's listening and watching, it's on Netflix. It's fantastic. But you see these guys, they go in, they go to work, they have a focus, they have purpose every single day. And then they get pictures of the kid with the quilt and they learn how to do a craft and this, that, and the other. And if they get in trouble, they get taken out of the program, and they don't want to get taken out of the program because then you're just sitting in your cell all day.
Yeah.
And, then I look at prisons from like, Norway and Sweden, where they're taking college classes and they leave educated. And then you talk to some people, they're like, you should sit in there and rot and blah, blah, blah. And then when you get out, it's like, I don't know if a lot of people know this. I don't know if this happened to you, but I have a friend whose family member went to prison. He got out of prison. He was $7,000 in debt. You have to pay to be in prison.
Yes, you do.
No one knows this. Do you know that? No one knows that.
They don't. A lot of people don't realize that you pay for everything in prison, even the simple things. And you end up in debt if you can't pay the system back.
Yes, he left $7,000 in debt. A felon, so good luck getting a job, right? No car, no house, no job, and in debt. Like, what? Like, and granted, you did something wrong and then you served your time, but like, when's the end of that time? Where's the line where we're like we need a halfway house or something? What's the answer?
And that's the thing, is we say things like, well, you do the crime, you do your time. When does the time end? When does it end? The return rate for people to go back to prison after being released within the first year, it's 73%. Within the first 3 years. And that I'm sorry, 61% within the first year, 73% within the first 3 years, and within the first 7 years, 83% of people go back. And because we live in a system that the minute that word felon escapes your lips, you're the worst person they've ever met. And they don't
not all the time.
Most of the time.
So sometimes you can commit 34 of them and still end up as president of the United States. It just really depends.
It just really depends.
It just depends on who you are. Sometimes you can become president and sometimes you get 90 years for stealing.
Sometimes you have to be the Disney girl. Sometimes you can run the country. Whatever. It's fine.
Whatever. I mean, maybe it's helping prisoners. Who freaking knows? So let me ask you this. What's next for you?
Honestly, I've thought about this a lot. I've been advised to work on a book. I've been advised to take to long form content, YouTube, podcasts. There's so many branches. I don't even think I've really gotten to the TikTok famous part of the TikTok famous. I don't think my reach has gotten to enough people. I don't think enough people are listening yet for me to feel like I can go so much further. I want I want the world to be clear, and me myself, of course. Because you said it yourself, my page, it goes everywhere. I'm a comedian first and foremost, and I'm a storyteller second. So, do I want to write a book? Yes. Do I want to be a comedian? Yes. Do I want to start a podcast? Maybe. It like I don't know, but
Yeah.
I know that where I definitely want to go is making sure that everybody knows what I stand for, what I want to change if I can, and where to go to get the information, which is always going to be me because I'm always going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. I love that. I, sitting here, think that the best thing for you is to make a list of 5 to 10 things that you stand for and start getting it on paper so you can get some clarity. And I think that that will start to put some parameters on your journey. You know what I mean? Like really
yeah.
just sit there and go, okay, what are some things that I really want to focus on? Is it so I had a gal on at the beginning of I have 2 podcasts. This is one of them, which if you want to start a podcast, ask me, I'll help you. Because
Fantastic.
people will literally charge you 10 grand to start a podcast and we could have it done in like a fucking hour. Okay.
I know. I've seen.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. So, my other podcast in the beginning, I had a bunch of these amazing women of color. It's a whole series. It's one of the proudest things I've ever done. Just because of the fact that they allowed me to be in their space and be
I
vulnerable with and so one of the gals, she is in, I think it's Washington, DC, and she started a nonprofit where women coming out of prison, she helps train them. She's partnered with Microsoft. Microsoft trains them, in Excel and all this other stuff. She works with them to get like outfits and clothing, and then she gets them a job. And it is, yeah, it's unbelievable. And this is her life's work. And I think if you start thinking in those terms, like, okay, who can I partner with? And like, you can do this because you're smart and you get it and you have good stories and you have a good way of telling people shit and they get it because you're not intimidating.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Like I'd be like, "Hey, you're coming to Chicago, you can stay in this room." You know what I mean? Like you're not intimidating, and so people go like their brain doesn't know where to put you, and that's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't know what to do with you, so I'm just gonna we're just gonna be best friends, and then that's it. So like I don't know. I think that you should start with like some lists of like what are my priorities, what are important to me, where's the holes.
Yeah, and I think that that's definitely a good place to start. You're right. I've seen so many people come out of my prison. I know my friend Alize, she works with women who are fresh out of prison, all types of felons. She helps get them jobs. There are plenty of people I was in prison with who have come out and done good. And I think maybe that's also why I thought, well, if I have a platform and I have words to say and someone will listen, then I can promote my friends and I can help more. And the prison reform is definitely a direction I'd like to take. I just want to make sure that I have that right blend of serious and funny. I just made a video today talking about the prison healthcare system, and I even say in that video, usually I'm very funny, but this is serious. So
Yeah.
I want to make sure that I'm able to make people laugh to keep them from getting uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but not too uncomfortable because I want them a little uncomfortable because
Yep.
from discomfort we find change.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe it's putting that prison address down someplace on your videos. Like send care packages. It doesn't have to be to anyone particular. Just send. Maybe it's to the COs.
Just send
Maybe
somebody something.
send somebody something like, "Hey, here's the address. Send a care package to the COs." Because guess what? Just like when you smile at somebody when you're walking down the street, and then that changes their day forever, and then they're nicer to the barista, and then they're nicer to their kid, and then they're nicer to their friend on the playground. It kind of goes like that, and it's like the butterfly effect, right? And so I think that's pretty cool what you're doing. I think everything about you is pretty freaking ass cool.
Well, I think everything about you is pretty cool too. I saw some of your page, your spiritual guide. You help people get their life together.
I try.
You do a lot.
I'm trying.
I'm just a storyteller.
There's no such thing. So was Edgar Allan Poe.
That's
Right?
true.
So think of all the greats. Walt Whitman. Think of all the greats. They were just storytellers.
I'm trying to be the next Stephen King without all the creepy clowns.
No one likes a creepy clown.
Nobody wants.
No one.
Uh,
No one likes a creepy clown. Well, I just think that you're fantastic, and I'm glad my daughter nudged me to, or actually she didn't nudge me, because as soon as I saw your page, I reached out to you instantly. I'm glad she directed me in your way, to you, so I can reach out. And I'm glad that you trusted me enough to do this, because you never know someone's intention. Someone could get you on here and just be a total dick. Just
and I think it's really entertaining, and I love being here. And I want you to know how serious I took this, because I know you are a spiritual person. So right before you messaged me, I had a reading by a psychic, and she had said, there's a very large opportunity coming your way. It's your chance to talk to somebody, and you need to take it. And
aw.
I tell you, that was so necessary, because I'm not a podcast person. Like, I've always wanted to be on a podcast, but I have terrible social anxiety. So I've always thought I would have to push myself in order to talk to somebody live. And then you messaged me, and I was like, well, the psychic said I have to do this. So here I am.
I would have been so bummed if you were like, no.
I No, I had a guy back in 2021. I had a guy that was like, come on my podcast. I want to talk about what you want to talk about, like reintegration and all. Because when I first got out of prison, my TikTok was about reintegration. And so he was like, come on my podcast. I want to talk about reintegration. And I was like, no, I don't want to talk to you.
Yeah.
So
Well, you got a good gut instinct. I mean, I think at 14, there's no way you could have had a good gut instinct, because we're at 14, we're oblivious. We trust everybody.
yeah.
And then, if you want to get out of Dodge, you go with dude, and you got a lot of bright ideas, and I've done it. I've dated more jerks than I can even shake a stick at. Thank God none of them wanted to marry me. Right?
Oh God, that is so funny.
I always tell my kids I'm very grateful for all the ones that didn't like me enough. Like, thank you, Lord Jesus.
I know.
No is an answer to a prayer. Just no. Go with it. Just
Absolutely.
right.
You
No.
don't know what the prayer is. Sometimes no is a complete sentence for that.
No is a complete sentence. Just no.
Yes.
But yeah, like I think that I know that you are saved for something very, very special. And I am super excited to watch it unfold. And you are my friend forever. So like, as you move forward, come back on anytime, reach out to me for anything you need for help with creating a podcast, or you name it. I wrote a book. Even if you need to self-publish a book, I can show you how to do that. I'm happy to help, because you know what? I think that what we are doing in the prison system is just completely backwards. And people like you are one in a million who come out with a better attitude, smarter, with good intentions, and trying to change the world. And I think that if we could get more Ninas running around this planet, we'd be a very, very good place to exist.
Don't let my haters hear you say that. But thank you so much.
Please, you don't have any haters. I don't believe it for a minute. And if they are, it's because they hate themselves.
Meredith.
Telling you.
Say that.
I'm telling you, it's because they're not happy with themselves.
I think so. But I really appreciate you. And you know what? We are best friends forever now.
Forever. I'm friends with an ex-con. Meh, 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 meh.
If anybody ever gives you any problems, you just say, you be careful, okay? My best friend Nina, she's a felon.
She'll kick your ass.
And if they doubt you, you can just say, she robbed Disney, okay?
Disney. Like, that's savage. She's savage, bro. Like, that is gangster. Who takes down Disney? I'm here for that. But seriously, I'm excited for you, girl. I think you're a great storyteller. Your delivery is 10 out of 10. Your makeup is 100 out of 100. You've got a new hair colors. I'm here for all of it.
Thank you.
You just keep telling everybody what's up, that those are real human beings in there. Some of them got a bad rap. Some of them deserve what they get, but all of them deserve a second chance, because guess what? we're all good Christians here, aren't we? And we want everyone to get a second goddamn chance. We want everybody to be saved. Jesus. Right?
Everybody. I love
Everybody. Everybody. All right, everybody, go check out That Little Nina over on TikTok. What's your handle over on Instagram? Same?
It's That Little Nina on Instagram. So yeah.
That Little Nina on Instagram. Are you on YouTube?
I am on YouTube, and everything's in my link tree in my bio because I get That Little Nina on YouTube. Apparently, she already exists.
How?
I don't know. I got to get That Little Nina to know that I'm That Little Nina.
You're the Little Nina. But check her out. She's got a link, and the link tree is in her bio. Everything is going to be here in the show notes, so go check her out. You have been more than I could have dreamed of. More than I could have dreamed of. So just keep shining your light, girl, because this is what the world needs, is more of you.
You are the best.
All right, guys. I will see you all here back next week with another guest. So I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the TikTok Famous Podcast with Meredith Willits. If you're loving the unfiltered stories and behind-the-scenes truths, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show. Until next time, let's get famous.